Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. It has been a week since Class 1A got not only their upgrades, but their internship invites, and finally the day had come, and they had all selected a hero to study under. Though there were some hiccups through the selection process and some strange picks. Izuku, Melissa, and May were of course all interning under Nizu. Achiko had decided to intern with Gunhead, citing she needed to learn how to fight better in hand-to-hand without relying on her quirk. Mina had chosen to intern with Backdraft, since his abilities and equipment was similar to hers in many ways. Sue had chosen Selkie as he was known for his aquatic abilities and the fact that he was a water-based hero. Kirishima chose Fourth Kind, apparently for his manliness, whatever that meant. Momo had initially chosen Iwabami. However, the trio immediately informed her that she'd more than likely end up just doing commercials and not learning anything of real heroic value. So she chose Gunhead for his martial arts proficiency with Achiko. Tokoyami had been given an offer from the number 2 hero himself, Hawks, and immediately accepted as he wished for the hero to teach him how to effectively fly. Zero chose one of his 12 offers, specifically the number 129 hero Spider Queen, citing she could teach him inventive ways to use his tape. Both Hagakure and Aoyama chose a hero named Lady Spectre, a hero who could manipulate light energy. Jiro ended up choosing Death Arms. After seeing no music or sound-based heroes send invites, even present Mike was busy, so she settled for the punching hero to learn more hand-to-hand combat. Ojiro got an invite from a hero called the Steel Fist, who claimed to be a martial artist, so he chose it to learn new techniques. Shoji found a hero called TDK, who had detachable limbs, and chose to go with him. Kaminari had chosen a hero called Thunder King, who possessed the ability to manipulate but not generate electricity. He immediately accepted the invite. Bakugo actually got an invite from the number 4 hero Best Jeanist, but strangely enough didn't pick him, instead choosing a hero called Kaiser. That confused Izuku, but he brushed it off assuming Bakugo thought the hero could teach him new techniques. But there was still a nagging feeling in the back of his head. Shinso had only one invite and it turned out to be from Eraserhead, their own teacher. He accepted it simply because he had not her choice. Their last 2 classmates, Ida and Todoroki, had made rather odd and dangerous choices. Firstly, Ida had chosen the hero Manual, a hero with a water quirk, but who also happened to be stationed in Hosu, the exact location his brother was crippled, and where the hero killer is thought to currently be hiding. The trio immediately realized their classmate's plans to go after his brother's attacker and put a stop to it. Flashback. So you 3 think that Ida, the only guy I've ever met who's stiffer than Cementos, who's so much of a stickler for the rules that he can more than likely quote the UA handbook word for word, is going to try and go vigilante. Am I getting that right? Aizawa asked incredulously with a dry tone of voice. Please explain these accusations, you 3. They are quite dire. Nizu states intensely. I know it's difficult to believe, Sensei. We can hardly believe it myself. Izuku replied swiftly. But think about it. His brother, his hero, his idol, was maimed by a villain. Me and Izuku know what that feels like. We felt it when we learn about what AFO did to Uncle Might. Melissa continues, with voices filled with emotion as she looks at her uncle off to the side of the room. Engin's entire world had been violently upended, and he's picked an agency as well as 2 backups, none of which suit him in any way. None of which are similar in any way except for the fact that they're located in Hosu, where the hero killer is still believed to be operating. May continues to explain in a dire tone. Okay, thank you 3 for bringing this to our attention. We will take care of this. Nizu states with a confident grin. The trio nodded and then left the room, allowing the teachers to speak with one another about the problem that had come to light. Many of the teachers agreed with the trio's observations. Midnight pointed out how Ida had lost a lot of his drive. Hound Dog suggested he give Ida extra therapy, but the others saw little value in it, seeing as the therapist couldn't relate to the young man's plight. However, one amongst them could and knew another hero who shared in their pain. I believe I know how to reach young Ida. If an offer were to come from me, young Ida would not find it in his heart to reject it and would not find it suspicious. Also, I know someone who can help, someone who can teach young Ida about his quirk, about dealing with his tragic loss, and, perhaps, teach him to be a bit less stiff. I'll have to make a phone call to see if he is willing. Small Might states with a nervous tone of voice due to who he was talking about. Nizu knew who the hero was talking about and approved the plan. Small Might left to make his call in privacy. The others were surprised to see he was shaking in abject terror as he did so. Just who was he calling? Was the collective thought process of the faculty. In the end, Ida accepted the #1 hero's offer to learn under someone called Gran Torino. And how couldn't he? Whilst Ida still hungered for vengeance, he saw this invite as an opportunity. Not only can I learn under a hero who taught All Might, but with that learning, I could not only avenge my brother, but carry on his valiant legacy. The speedster thought to himself as he politely revived the hero's contact information from All Might with a 90-degree bow. Present. The trio hoped for their classmates' swift mental recovery and survival under Torino's tutelage. Not just any man can make All Might quiver in fear. Their other classmate, Todoroki, also made a strange decision. He chose Endeavor, his own father, whom he hated. When Izuku asked why, Todoroki's response made him smile. Flashback. Hey, Todoroki. Izuku says as he approaches the heterochromic young man, getting his attention. Yes, Midoriya. He replies calmly. I heard you're going with your father. Izuku states in a confused tone of voice. You are correct. Todoroki replies emotionlessly. Why? I thought the flash drive I gave you freedom from him? Izuku asks confused. It did. Todoroki replied. Then why are you interning with him? Izuku asks, still bewildered at his classmate's decision. Because he's the strongest fire user I know, I plan to take all his techniques and leave, plus my presence will anger him severely. Todoroki states with a smug smile. Okay, how exactly does that work? Izuku asked. Todoroki then started explaining his plan. It all started back in Recovery Girl's medbay back at the festival. Flashback within a flashback. Todoroki had just finished reading everything on the drive Midoriya had given him as his father burst into the room with his usual bluster. At last, Shoto, you've gotten over your rebellious phase and accepted your destiny. And whilst it's a shame you lost to think arrogant boy, with my training I can guarantee you never lose again. Of course I'll send you an internship's invite, so that we can properly begin. Endeavor began blustering only to suddenly be cut off by his son. Do you ever tire of hearing your own voice? You obnoxious, arrogant, self-centered, flaming bag of SHD. Todoroki states, interrupting the hero and giving him a vicious glare. How dare you talk to your own father that way, boy? You are my son, and you shall do as I say. Endeavor yells in anger at his son's outburst. Not for long. Todoroki calmly stated as he turns the laptop he'd borrowed from Recovery Girl and showed his father its contents. The contents stunned the #2 hero. The laptop was filled with evidence on everything. The purchasing of his wife, his numerous hush campaigns to shut up news networks, his government bribes to increase his ranking, everything. The giant man could only glare at his son as cold sweat began erupting from him and evaporating in his flames. Where did you get? Endeavor began to ask on a nervous and growly voice. Shut up and listen close. If you don't want this getting out, then do exactly what I say. Todoroki states with a menacing tone of voice. What do you want, Shoto? Endeavor asks. First off, you're going to release my mother from the insane asylum you locked her in. Then you're going to divorce her with all benefits going to her, me, and my siblings. Speaking of thirdly, you're going to garnish your salary and pay for all our expenses until we all reach 25 years of age. Also, I will be accepting your offer for internships. You will teach me everything you know about fire control and like it. Do I make myself clear? Don't speak, just nod. Todoroki states as he makes his demands to his increasingly pissed off dad. In response, Endeavor simply nods. Good, now get out. Todoroki states, causing the #2 to leave in silent outrage. Back to the first flashback. Izuku couldn't help but stifle a laugh as Todoroki told his story. He reminisced about how he told Mei, Melissa, and Nizu the situation, and all unanimously agreed to take the #2 hero down a peg. They got the Mayday AI, as well as Mei herself, to hack both Endeavor's personal computer as well as numerous government databases to get all the incriminating information, as well as dirt on everyone who was in on Endeavor's scheme. They then had Inko draw up divorce documents for Rei Todoroki. Lastly, they left a note in the file detailing how Todoroki should speak to his father, as well as informing him not to immediately out his father as the ripples throughout society would cripple faith in heroes. So how does it feel to be all but free now, Todoro? Izuku began asking before being interrupted. Shoto, call me Shoto. I'd rather not use his last name. Also, this feeling of freedom feels, well, unique to say the least. I haven't even seen my mother yet. I'm a little nervous about it. Shoto states as he cut off Midoriya's usage of his ex-father's last name. All right, Shoto, you can call me Izuku if you want. And I wouldn't worry about your mother. I'm sure she'll be over the moon to see after so long. Trust me. Izuku replies with a kind smile. Thank you, Izuku. I don't know how I can ever repay you and the others for helping me in this way. Shoto replies with a small smile. Just eclipse that father of yours and stay safe on your internship. Izuku replies as he leaves the young man to his own devices. Present. Izuku hoped that both his classmates would survive their internships, primarily at the hands of their teachers, but for right now, he had to focus. Aizawa had just seen the rest off at the campus gates to their respective internships, with only Shinso, who was interning with Aizawa, staying behind. They were off to their company's main office building. Why? Because today they would be meeting with Kiyoshi Goro, the Commissioner General of the Japanese Police Force. The man had requested a meeting just after the sports festival about purchasing anti-quirk cubes, but the trio had a plan to sell him something new. Futurism Incorporated Conference Room. The room was big, but not too big. In the center was a large rectangular table that appeared to have a touchscreen for a top, with a large domed device implanted in the center. The table was also surrounded by numerous comfy chairs. The conference room looks like this. The trio were waiting in the room, all seated. Each one of them were wearing a suit. It was a nightmare to get May to wear one instead of her standard overalls and vest. They were all nervous. It was their first business transaction as the bosses of a company, and with such an important person. Each of them were doing mental calming exercises. Izuku was dissecting the quirk of a hero who'd got into the top 100, who could manipulate microwaves, the radiation, not the appliance. Melissa was tinkering with her limbs. She'd done her routine maintenance, but she was a perfectionist. Lastly, May was using a tissue to draw up designs for a new baby that could survive the vacuum of space. After about half an hour of waiting, there was a knock at the door. Please come in. Izuku states nervously. The doors opened to reveal the Commissioner General of all Japan, Kiyoshi Goro. The man stood 5.8 feet tall. He was 57 years of age and had black hair that was staring to gray at the sides. He had brown eyes and was wearing a tuxedo befitting his high government status. Izuku had done research on the man. To call his resume impressive would be an understatement. The man joined the police force at 18 as a beat cop for 5 years before making detective at age 23. With arrest numbers almost in the triple digits, he made sergeant at age 29, then lieutenant at 34, then captain of his own precinct at 43, and ran a tight ship with incredible arrest numbers. He then became commissioner of Kyoto for 7 years before finally running for commissioner general 3 years ago and won by a landslide. Most of this was thanks to his quirk, power nap, which let him get the equivalent of 8 hours sleep in only 20 minutes of sleeping. To call him a workaholic would also be a massive understatement. And this man was now staring them down as he entered the room. The trio all stood and bowed in respect of the man, who then returned the courtesy with a bow of his own. It's a pleasure to meet you, Commissioner General Goro, Izuku states as all 4 of them sit down. Likewise, Mr. Midoriya. It's a pleasure to meet you, all 3 of you. Now I can tell you're all nervous, so I'll cut to the chase. I've spoken with Prime Minister Chikara, and I've been given what is essentially a blank check to purchase technology from you to improve the police forces across Japan, specifically those anti-quirk cubes Miss Shield used during the sports festival, as well as those tracker cuffs Mr. Midoriya used. The Commissioner General states with authority and confidence, stunning the trio. Oh, okay. So you'd like to purchase the cubes and cuffs. Anything else right now? Melissa replies, asking if he only wanted the cubes. No. Though personally I'd like to ask for suits like the ones you also used in the festival, though I'm guessing you're not willing to just hand those over, even when presented with a blank check. Goro replied. He knew asking for those suits was foolish, so he'd not directly asked for them. He was hoping to haggle for maybe some other equipment. The trio's response shocked him. Well, we won't sell you those babies, but we do have something else you and the Prime Minister might like. May states with a smile. Go on. Goro replied with extreme interest. In response, Izuku pushed a few buttons of the table's display, and the central holographic display lit up, displaying a suit. The suit was skin-tight, but looked to be comprised of metal. It had a matching helmet with 4 glowing eyes and an antenna on the right side. The suit sported gauntlets, pauldrons, knee and elbow braces. From just one look, the suit looked formidable. The suit looks like this, but more androgynous, and ignore the weapons for now. And as usual, I don't own this image. Incredible, but what is it? Goro asked in surprise, hoping what he was thinking was true. This baby is the Tactical Urban Anti-Villain Armor, or TWAVA for short. May explained. What's it for? Goro asked. It's for the police, specifically a new squad of the police made to deal with villains without the aid of heroes. Izuku states confidently. What new police squad? I haven't made any new police squads. Gori replies before realization dawns on him. Which is why we're asking you to make one. Picture it, a squad of elite police officers taking care of villains alone or alongside heroes. The police will no longer be seen by the public as glorified hall monitors, but as an actual public service, just like the pre-Quirk days. Melissa explains with charisma, hoping the Commissioner General agrees. This all sounds very interesting, but there are 2 things I need to ask. 1. Who will train this new squad? And 2. Where would they even deploy? Goro asks, his outer aura giving off calm collectiveness, but on the inside the man was giddy. We have made several programs to help train potential recruits and have an AI in storage to help out. And as for deployment, the hero killer is still at large and more than likely still in Hosu. Izuku explains, as he barely restrains his happiness at the current situation. So, you want to buy our latest babies, or just the cuffs and cubes? May asks with a smug tone of voice. The Commissioner General smiles. I can just tell this agreement is going to be start of great things between the government and your company. Goro states as he pulls out a checkbook. Later at the UA dorms. The trio had just gotten back from their successful meeting with Commissioner General, who had agreed to their request to create a suited squad of super cops, tracker cuffs, and purchase dozens of anti-Quirk cubes. The trio were relaxing in their favorite way, playing video games, reading comics, eating junk food, and brainstorming new babies. Nizu had given them the rest of the day to relax, but tomorrow they'd be going out on patrol, with midnight as oversight, in order to get on the job experience. I still can't believe we did it. May squealed as she finishes an original issue of Action Comics #1. I know, out first business deal, and with such an important person. It feels also at unreal. Melissa replies as she sighs with relief whilst reading an issue of Iron Man, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's only just the beginning. We're going to revolutionize the world with our technology. I'm just so happy we get to do it together. Izuku states charismatically while standing, as he holsters Invincible issue 78. The trio then all share a laugh at Izuku's theatrics and continue relaxing, unaware of the darkness ahead. Other internships. As the days rolled by, the members of Class 1A would continually remain in contact and talk about their internships, or just whine. Sue talked about how she was mainly doing grunt work on the Selkie ship, but was also being trained in underwater combat by the hero's #2. Zero talked about his first interaction with Spider Queen and how he nearly died of fright. Apparently the hero looked like an anthropomorphic spider lady, mandibles and all, but she was very kind and willing to teach the young man swinging techniques. Ojiro talks about his grueling training under Steel Fist, who apparently had a metal bones quirk. The hero was teaching Ojiro the limitations of his techniques and was being taught how to compensate for them. Both Aoyama and Hagakure talked about Lady Spectre's flamboyant personality. Apparently Aoyama wasn't used to being on the other side of flamboyance. But despite the hero's theatrics, she was an effective teacher and was diligently training the duo in quirk usage and situation procedure. Tokoyami spoke about Hawks and his detached personality, but like Lady Spectre, the #2 hero was training the young bird on how to fight and fly effectively. Though Dark Shadow was apparently picking up weird vibes from the hero, he said he was lonely. Shoji was a little upset at his teacher, TDK, which literally stood for the detachable kid. Apparently, the hero wasn't very good at teaching. He just took Shoji on patrol and was rather vague in his answers to Shoji's questions. Momo and Achiko were apparently making great headway in their CQC trading with Gunhead, though funnily enough Momo got a whiny call from Kendo, who went with Iwabami for her internship. over the codec about the internship being lame and unhelpful for the CQC hero in training. Jiro was in two minds about death arms. On one hand, he was a great teacher in CQC and police procedure. But on the other, his ego was rubbing Jiro the wrong way that reminded her of boys from her old high school who dismissed her for her small chest. The class was quick to send encouraging words to her, especially Kaminari. Speaking of Kaminari, his time with Thunder King was tiring out rather fruitful. Despite the hero's voltage limit for his manipulation of electricity, Kaminari was getting significantly stronger and more efficient in using his electricity. Shinso's tone was indecipherable. He would simultaneously compliment and whine about Eraserhead's teaching methods and tracing regimes. He talked about cool stealth training techniques and harsh conditions in the same tone of voice. Kirishima apparently ended up picking the same hero as Tetsu from 1B, whose eyes had thankfully healed, and they were a little underwhelmed at Fourth Kind's training. In actuality, they were primarily doing community service, but couldn't complain, as in their own words, "Community service makes you more manly." At this point, the class was combined. The two were related somehow. Mina was giddy about her internship with Backdraft. He was really kind, patient, and an eager teacher. He'd taught her how to douse flames with her more neutral acids, how to reliably hit targets with her acid guns, and how to calm panicked civilians. A couple classmates were jealous of her internships, and she relished the drama of it all. The trio spoke about their first business deal and got resounding cheers and congratulations from their classmates. They spoke about how they were going to go on patrol with Midnight later in the week and were sent condolences from their classmates, which caused a good chuckle. The only two members of Class 1A who didn't participate were Ida and Bakugo. The class hoped for Ida's mental recovery and safety, and thought little of Bakugo. AFO hiding spot. AFO was not having a good day. His anesthetic tank had malfunctioned, and his breathing tube ripped, leaving him agony for a half hour, until Dr. Garaki returned and swiftly remedied the issue. On top of that, Tamura was throwing another one of his tantrums. The boy had so much promise for villainy, yet he refused to mature. It got under AFO's skin. Hopefully his day would improve soon enough. He'd finally tracked down the hero killer and ordered Kurogiri to fetch him. Hopefully the serial killer would end up joining the League and giving it an air of legitimacy amongst villains, because currently its reputation was in the proverbial toilet. All Tamura has to do is not mess this up. Please don't mess this up, Tamura. AFO thought to himself with hope. LOV base. We see Tamura currently in the process of messing things up. Kurogiri has informed him they'd be having an esteemed guest, who was currently standing in front of him with a sneer. The man had rather long black hair that he wore in a messy fashion. He wore a dark combat suit, plated with metal armor across his body to holster his various weapons. The torso was sleeveless, so he wrapped his arms in bandages, all the way from just below his shoulders to his wrists. He also wore long black wristbands and a watch on his left arm. His knees were protected with metal pads, and the outfit was completed by black boots with steel armor plating. He would be most recognizable by his signature blood-red scarf and matching headband, as well as the tattered cloth he wore around his face as a mask. This was the hero killer, Stain, and right now he was pissed. He thought the leader of the LOV would be a tactical and calm mastermind, not a sullen and angry child in an adult's body. Tamura had insulted the hero killer and then went on spiel about how he wanted to kill All Might and destroy hero society. But it was clear he had no current plan, no post-societal destruction plans, or even the conviction to carry them out. And Stain could see that clearly. Which is why Stain attacked him. Tamura retaliated, only for both to be stopped by Kurogiri's portals. Just send me back to Hosu, you miserable convictionless man-child. Stain demands with disgust in his voice. He'd already lost valuable hunting time with these people, and he didn't feel like losing more. Tamura simply gave Kurogiri a hand gesture telling the living portal send their esteemed guest back to Hosu. Master, Tamura says, causing a TV to activate. What is it, Tamura? AFO replies, his exhaustion and disappointment flying over Tamura's head. How many Nomu are ready for deployment? Tamura asks. 3. AFO replies. Good. I'm going to need them for my next plan. I'm going to show that pathetic hero killer that I do have conviction. Tamura replies, getting angrier the longer he speaks. Ida POV. Ida's internship had an interesting start to it. As soon as he opened the door to Torino's dilapidated building, he saw the diminutive hero on the flood with a red substance and viscera beneath him. Immediately, the stiff student started panicking and attempting to call 119, asking himself what he should tell the person on the other end of the line. Then suddenly, "I'm alive," Torino cried out, lifting his head. Torino got up, stating that he was in fact alive, causing Ida to sigh in relief. Then came the senility game. Torino asked who he was. Ida replied, only to be asked again and again. Torino kept forgetting Ida's name, even calling by his father's name at one point. Then Torino ordered Ida to don his hero outfit and then attack with full force. Initially, Ida refused, but after Tornio insisted, Ida attack and got his butt thoroughly handed to him. Gran Torino was a blur in Ida's peripheral vision. He just couldn't keep up with the aging hero retiree. "I feel I may have made a mistake. I just hope I can learn something. Maybe I should sneak away to find him." Hero kill, Ida thought to himself as Torino kicked him in the face and knocked him at extreme speed. Throughout the internship, Torino kept saying things like, "He was too stiff, be more flexible, and become your own hero." Words that would become very significant in the near future. Bakugo POV. Bakugo was currently in the process of ignoring his teacher, Kaiser, for two reasons. One, his teacher wasn't even in the top 10, so in Bakugo's mind, he was a weakling and not worth listening to. And two, he was too busy planning how he was going to kill Stain and become famous for doing so. Despite what his outward personality would tell you, Bakugo was decently intelligent, so he deducted that Stain was in Hosu, which is why he chose Kaiser as a teacher. The hero had the ability to absorb fire and infuse it into objects to cause explosions, so choosing him wouldn't be suspicious. Besides, he was Katsuki Bakugo. Even if he did take his highest offer from Best Genist, it's not like he could teach him anything. "Just you wait, hero killer. I'm gonna find you, then kill you. Then I'll get the respect I deserve. Finally, I'll be at the center of everyone's minds, not those worthless Dekus and their lame tech." The blonde thought to himself with violent intentions for the hero killer, completely unaware just how unprepared he was. The week had been going so well, was the main thought inside Izuku's head as he punched an eyeless Nomu in the face. As Hosu burned around him, civilians screamed in terror, and his two closest friends dash off to save their classmates from a serial killer. How did we get here? From simple patrols and installations to life and death fights in a crowded street. Izuku continued to think to himself as he yanked Manuel out the way of an attack from a Nomu with 4 eyes using his gyrokinetic module. Flashback to the day prior. The trio had spent the last 2 days going on numerous patrols with Midnight and assisting the police in installing the utilities required to house the new suits they sold them. Midnight was an interesting internship mentor, to say the least. She seemed to flip between a sort of professional tone of corny to a genuinely corny tone. This was most evident on their first patrol, where they encountered a robbery in progress with armed thieves. Midnight put on her professional corny tone to distract the thieves whilst the trio dealt with civilian traffic and prevention of escape. During the encounter, one of thieves grabbed a female civilian and threatened her to shoot her or anyone who approached. In response, Izuku activated his force field and casually approached, and as a result, the thief opened fire with every shot deflecting off the barrier until the firearm ran dry. Izuku then punched the guy's lights out. As a thank you, the civilian hugged Izuku. This caused Midnight to use her genuinely tone on an attempt to tease Izuku, asking if either May or Melissa, who were at the time tying up the thieves, would be jealous. Izuku immediately informed Midnight that he viewed both young women as sisters, not love interests. To wit, Midnight pouted massively, but accepted it as she walked over the police who had just arrived. The trio spent most of their time after that helping Midnight deal with small-scale incidents all over the city of Mizudafu, from robberies to assault and batteries to illegal deals, as well as working on a side project for a friend. Not much really challenged the trio in any significant way. None of the criminals and villains really had any way to threaten the trio, whose tech was constantly admired by the crowds they drew wherever they went, being asked for autographs and photos with the trio. The trio were nearly brought to tears due to how happy they were at the praise. May was happy her babies were being praised by the general public, whilst Izuku and Melissa were happy because, well, they were quirkless and were being praised for being heroes. the very profession they'd been made fun of for aspiring towards. However, their relatively upbeat week ended on Thursday as Midnight entered the trio's workshop and told them some very significant news. "Suit up, my sweeties, we're going hunting in Hosu," Midnight states as she saunters in, her hips swaying side to side. "Why Hosu?" Izuku asked, curiously. "Yeah, isn't that where the hero killer is? We're just students. Besides, I heard they were making a task force to deal with him." Melissa points out, "You're both right, and speaking of that task force, apparently the chief of Hosu police called up Nizu and asked for you three, by name." Midnight explains with a smirk, stunning the trio. "So I'm guessing they asked for us, because they want us to use our babies to catch the killer?" May asks, "I wasn't given details, but I'm sure you're right." Midnight replies, as the trio get up and head towards the changing rooms. Hosu Police Precinct. Our trio arrive with Midnight just as the meeting gets underway. When they enter the room, they were taken aback by the who's who of heroes the Hosu chief, Kinji Tsuragami, had brought in: Iwabami, Crust, Manuel, Xless, and a bunch of lower-ranked heroes from Hosu, along with Endeavor and Shoto. That last one surprised the trio, as an operation like this would merit scalpel-like precision, not sledgehammer-like force that Endeavor was known for. "Ah, you finally arrived. We were just about to start." "Woof," the chief states, ending in a woof. Not unsurprising, as the chief was part dog, a bloodhound specifically. You'd think with all that cash and tech, they'd make a teleporter or at least invest in a watch. One of the lower-ranked heroes joked in a quiet time to a colleague. The joke did not go unheard. "Oh, the teleportation tech just blew a fuse, so we had to fly," Melissa states in a smug voice, looking directly at the hero who made the joke, who immediately covered their face and tried to make themselves as small as possible, which was easy since they could shrink. They carried Midnight to the station, by the way. "Anyway, I'm assuming you all know why you're here," the chief asks, hoping to avoid any complications. "To locate and subdue the hero killer. As a team," Crust states with his usual extravagance and positivity, causing many of the lower-ranked heroes and Endeavor to stifle a groan at the word teamwork. "Precisely, which is why I brought in rank 57, Foxhound, and rank 44, Dog Soldier, for their tracking abilities, along Iwabami and Midnight for their expert capture skills. And as you can see, I've requested the UA's Genius Trio to aid us with their advanced technology. Endeavor, Crust, and the rest of you are the muscle," the chief explains to the group, laying out their purpose and the plan. "How do we even know that Stain's still in Hosu and hasn't fled the city?" A lower-ranked hero questions grumpily. "Because he hasn't killed enough heroes yet," Izuku states, bluntly, causing everyone's heads to turn with stunned looks. "Please explain, Monitor." "Woof," the chief asks, using Izuku's hero name. "May," Izuku says, causing his friend to remove a segment of nanotech and toss it onto the table they were all sitting at. As a result, a hologram of 3 wards appears. Over the past few months, Stain has hit these 3 wards, with 2 commonalities amongst his victims. 1. He kills 3 to 4 heroes per ward. And 2. Each hero has a stigma of negativity surrounding them: sponsorship greed, lacks self-control, extensive property damage, taking bribes, etc. So since Stain has only killed 2 heroes in Hosu and merely crippled Ingenium, trust us, he's still here. Izuku explains to the stunned reactions of the heroes present as he shows each murdered hero and their associated crimes. "Wait, how did you get this information, and why weren't the public informed?" Iwabami asks, still stunned at the fact that every hero killed was guilty of something. "The HSBC doesn't like this stuff getting out, so they suppress all negative press around heroes. Think about it. When was the last time the news covered a hero losing a fight or getting fired?" Melissa explains, causing conversations to break out amongst the heroes present. "Settle down, please. Everyone settle down. So, we know that Stain is most likely still on Hosu. Now onto the plan." "Woof." The chief interjects to force order. He then began explaining the plan. 15 minutes later. "That should be it for the plan. Oh, also we should be getting backup soon from a new police squad. So don't be afraid to ask for help." "Woof," the chief states at the meeting end. Though many of the heroes, including Endeavor, dismissed this information, viewing this new squad as unnecessary. After all, they were heroes. Oh, how wrong they were. Post-meeting hallway. After the briefing was over, the trio were approached by Shoto, who seemed to be in good spirits, though one couldn't tell from his face since it was as stoic as ever. Hey Shoto, how's your internship with Endeavor going? He's staying in his lane? Izuku asks with a smile. The internship has been fruitful thus far, and yes, he's staying in his lane. He's taught me much on how to wield my flames as Celsius, not as his son. Shoto explains, with a ghost of a smile at the fact that he could feel the rage emanating from Endeavor whenever they trained. Oh, also to do, Melissa begins, before being interrupted. Himura, I've taken my mother's name, and whilst I am okay with you three calling me Shoto, I felt it prudent to inform of the change. Shoto explains, well, as I was saying, how is your mother? Have you seen her yet? Melissa asks with hope in her voice. This caused Shoto to reminisce over his encounter with his mother after a decade apart. The new Himura household, 2 weeks ago. Shoto was approaching his family's new home with trepidation. We was nervous about meeting his mother after so long, after her snap. When he informed both his siblings, Natsuo and Fuyumi, his brother burst into laughter whilst his sister was more apprehensive as she'd hoped to mend the family. But she accepted the change as she was happy to be able to see their mother again. When he entered the house, he saw her. His mother was sitting on the sofa with Fuyumi chatting. His sister then looked at as causing his mother also look. Fuyumi then excused herself and left the room. Mother, it's, good to see you again, Shoto says, awkwardly, having no clue on how to talk to her. In response, she got up and walked over to him. Placing her hand on his cheek, she spoke. My baby boy has grown up to be such a handsome young man, was all Rei said in a quiet time. Before hugging him, Shoto responded in kind, and for the first time in as long as he could remember, he cried. He cried tears of joy at having his mother back. Rei also cried at her happiness to be home and to see her baby boy again. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Shoto, Rei states as the hug ends, her face still stained with tears. You have nothing to apologize for, Mom. Just please never leave again. Shoto replies with a wobble in his voice as he remembrances his mother with more tears in his eyes. Don't worry, my son, Mommy's not going anywhere. Rei responded as she resumed crying. Present. Odo. Came a strange voice. Hey, Earth to Shoto, you still with us? The voice asked, causing Shoto to refocus on the present and realize it was Melissa. Yes, I am here. Sorry, I was reminiscing. He states. It went that well, huh? Mei says with a smile. Yeah, it did. Shoto replies, as the four of them share a laugh and begin catching up with one another. Eventually the conversation ended, and the four of them went back to their respective overseers in order to prepare for the manhunt on Stain. None of them knew just how hectic things were about to get. Late at night, in the Hosa streets, the search had not been going very well. Every hero team was spread across the city, but none of them could find the hero killer. We join our intrepid trio with Midnight just they meet up with Endeavor and his team. Hey big guy, any luck on your end? Midnight asked the hulking fire hero. Nothing as of yet, but when I find him, I'm going to turn him to ash. Endeavor states, as his fist ignited in great flames. Okay, Midnight replies with a tone of sarcasm. How about you three? Any of your tech get a trace? Shoto asked the trio through his helmet, which slightly muffled his voice. We've used every last camera in the city, but we can't locate him, and we can't use our biometric scanners because we don't know the killer's identity. Melissa explains, with a mopey pout on her face. Well, this meetup was as fruitful as I knew it would be. Come now show, I mean, Celsius, we have a killer to find. Endeavor states, holding back to desire to refer to Shoto as his son, since now he legally wasn't his son. Well then, see you later, big boy. Midnight replies, causing Endeavor to become highly uncomfortable. As the two groups spilt, they got about 10 feet away from each other before. Kaboom! A thunderous explosion ripped through the air just west of the two groups, causing both to rush towards its origin. What they saw horrified them. The street was in flames and 3 huge grotesque monsters were wreaking havoc. Several heroes were already at the scene, but looked too petrified to act. What the hell are those things? Endeavor shouts in shock at the horrific insults to nature. They're Nomu, artificial monsters made using humans' corpses by the League of Villains to used as living weapons. We killed one at the USJ, and it had 4 quirks. Looks like it wasn't the only one they had. Izuku explains, activating his helmet, causing Endeavor to do a double take. Mecha Lady, what quirks do these ones have? Midnight asks Melissa in serious hero mode. Melissa then uses her biometric scanners to determine the monster's quirks. After a minute, she had the info and shared it with the group. Okay, they all have 3 to 4 quirks. The big guy with no eyes has super regeneration, echolocation, blazing blood, and titanic muscles. In essences, he's a lesser copy of the USJ Nomu, but his blood ignites on contact with the air. I'd recommend Endeavor and Monitor take him. The one with wings has bat-like wings, taloned feet, and breathing mask. He looks to be a swift aerial unit. May you and I will take him down with our artillery babies. Lastly, the one with 4 eyes has absorption and release, muscle augmentation, independent eyes, and tongue web. No clue how they're meant to work in tandem, but I'd recommend Midnight and Celsius fight him with long range. Any questions? Melissa explains swiftly, getting no questions in response. Even Endeavor was silent. Time to send these monsters back to hell. Endeavor states as he rushes the large eyeless Nomu with Izuku hot on his trail. The others also begin attacking their respective Nomu. Things should be alright, just so long as nothing goes horribly wrong. Melissa thinks to herself as she and May start firing at the flying beast. Endeavor and Monitor POV. We're back to where the chapter started. The eyeless Nomu was a rather tough foe even for the duo of Monitor and Endeavor. Its massive strength meant that Endeavor couldn't get close without risking a deadly blow, and its echolocation meant that neither of them could sneak attack it from behind. Along with its igniting blood and super regeneration, it meant that Endeavor and Monitor had to pummel the thing to beat it, but be careful where they hit, as it could end up vomiting blood in any direction, which could injure civilians and heroes alike. And whilst Monitor's force field could endure the punches and flaming blood, he did have to deactivate the barrier in order to attack himself. In essence, the fight was a balancing act of keeping the fight clear of civilians, inflicting heavy damage to the Nomu and cauterizing the wounds to prevent regeneration, and intercepting spraying blood. This fight is harder for Izuku than the USJ because he has to worry about both the civilians and his partner, as well as property damage, whereas in the USJ he did not. After about 13 minutes of back and forth, bearing the monster within an inch of its life, Monitor tore off the eyeless Noma's left arm to wit Endeavor jumped in and grasped the stump, enduring the burning blood in the process, cauterizing the wound and simultaneously grasping the beast's exposed brain and incinerating it with a flash fire blast. Hey Endeavor, you good there? Izuku asks the giant hero as he walks away from the monster's ashen corpse. I'm fine, boy. It takes more than a light flicker to injure me. Endeavor replies with vitriol and confidence oozing from his voice. Well then, I guess we chalk this up to a successful fight then. Now let's was as far as Izuku got into words before both his codec and Endeavor's radio went off with the same message. We found Stain. I repeat myself, and Armory have located the hero killer Stain in an alleyway in Hosu on generic name street. Came Melissa's voice, causing both heroes to swiftly start making their way towards the given street with all haste. Midnight and Celsius POV. Simultaneously, whilst Endeavor and Monitor were curb stomping the eyeless Nomu, Midnight and Celsius had to deal with a Nomu that had 4 eyes, each of which could look in a different direction, therefore giving it no blind spots. Its tongue web gave it a long-distance grapple that meant every hero or civilian had to stay out of the appendage's range of around 20 feet. Its increased strength also meant that getting caught by the tongue would be a death sentence, as the Nomu could easily bear hug the target until death by crushing occurs. And lastly, the thing's absorption and release quirk allowed it absorb the products of emitter quirks. However, it did have a hard limit to how much it could absorb. Celsius took advantage of the Noma's quirk limitations by unleashing small freezing icebergs, plumes of super hot fire, and streams of sublimating air towards the mindless monster, which attempted to absorb them only to be completely overwhelmed by the triple elemental threat. With the highly compressed, expanding air slamming into its body, whilst the fire and ice sent its own internal temperature into flux, the Nomu's absorption and realized quirk was quickly burned out. Its augmented muscles were going into pain spasms due to the rapid temperature flux, and its tongue was frozen in ice, which was swiftly causing frostbite-induced gangrene to set in. The beast then fell to its knees in agony as Midnight merely sauntered up to it and tore open her costume, causing a cloud of her quirk's sleep gas to envelop the male monster, causing to fall unconscious. Oh my, what a hot and heavy battle, Celsius darling. Midnight states in a hot tone of voice. If you're sweating too much, Miss Midnight, I could give you some ice. Celsius replies, the risque double entendre flying over his head, causing Midnight to pout and think she was losing her touch. None of the sweeties I've worked with this week have even blushed at my attempts at seduction. Am I losing my touch? And oh, I just need to up the ante. Midnight thinks to herself as she saunters over to Celsius, who was presently assisting a couple who had fled their burning home in their pajamas by warming them up and icing their home to prevent fire damage. But just before she could get a single hit word out, the codec and their radios whizzed to life. We found Stain. I repeat myself, and Armory have located the hero killer Stain in an alleyway in Hosu on generic name street. Came Melissa's voice, causing both heroes to swiftly start making their way towards the given street with all haste. Mecha Lady and Armory POV. Prior to the signal of location being sent out, the duo of Melissa and May had been fighting the flying Nomu, which was surprisingly nimble in the air and was outside the reach of the majority of the weapons they'd brought to subdue Stain. Even the anti-Quirk cube's range wasn't enough. After about 10 minutes of anti-air firing, they finally hit the thing with a repulsor shot, which tore off its left arm, causing it cry out in pain and fly higher into the air. In response, the duo fly after it to engage in a flying melee battle. The trio of flyers wage a brief but fairly epic battle until the beast begins to strangely retreat, which surprised the duo, as they thought these bioengineered bulldozers only had the fight part of the fight or flight instinct. The Nomu began diving at impressive speeds, but the duo gave chase, with May activating a shoulder-mounted weapon and firing at the creature as they all dive. Eventually, one of the shots hits the creature's spine, causing it to go out of control and plummet into an alleyway. The duo quickly locate the crash site to find a terrifying and hilarious sight. The Nomu had crashed into a large dumpster and was evidently unconscious. That was the hilarious part. The terrifying part was who was also on the alleyway, the hero killer Stain, with sword aloft over their classmate, Ida, and a hero slumped against a wall bleeding out. The killer was currently looking at the trashed Nomu in surprise, but swiftly turned back to his task at hand, only to notice the duo staring at him. Immediately after about a minute of eye contact with the serial killer, Melissa sent out an SOS over the radio and codec. We found Stain. I repeat myself, and Armory have located the hero killer Stain in an alleyway in Hosu on generic name street. Melissa cries out over the radio and codec. Stain POV just prior to the Noma crashing. Stain wasn't having the best night. While none of his nights were what one could call pleasant, but tonight he was extra unhappy. His kill of the night, some faker named Native, had been interrupted by a kid in armor mirroring Ingenium. The killer decided to probe the individual for information. Your armor's design a fan of Ingenium, are we? Stain inquired about Ida's costume. Yes, he is my older brother, you monster. Ida replies, holding back his instinct to attack. So here for petty revenge are we? You fake heroes are all. The Stain began to rant before Ida cut him off. What would revenge get me? My brother's spine would still be crippled, your victims would all stay dead, and I'd be arrested for murder. No, I'm here to ensure Native gets out alive, and if that means fighting you, then so be it. Ida states with a charisma that was wholly unknown to him, as he remembered his tutelage under Gran Torino and the story he told him. Ida flashback. A villain took your best friend? Ida asked his mentor, who'd suddenly revealed a secret during trading, after he'd knocked Ida to ground for the 137th time that day. Yeah, her name was Nana Shimura, but most people don't know her hero name. But she went by Maverick, though I doubt you've heard it. She didn't even crack the top 100. Torino explains as memories of his closest compatriot flood his mind, causing his to force back tears. How did she die? Ida asked. A real nasty villain wanted both her and her protege dead, so she stayed behind to fight him whilst I grabbed her disciples and ran for the hills. Torino explained as AFO's maniacal laugh and Nana's final words echoed in his ears. Who was the disciple? Ida asked, afraid of the answer. All Might. Torino answered, causing shock to envelop Ida's face. But All Might's the strongest. Could he have helped her? Ida asked frantically, standing up and trying to visualize All Might running for his life. All Might wasn't All Might yet. Not like you and the rest of Japan know him. All Might was a wet behind-the-ears 21-year-old with a fresh degree from UA. And this villain, he was the worst of the worst. I had to take All Might and run like hell, all the way to America. Torino explained, as his student fell to his knees in disbelief. Why are you telling me this, sir? Ida asked, nervously with a wobble in his voice. Because you're not as subtle as you think you are, you moron. Torino replied, kicking Ida in the face. What do you mean, sir? Ida replied as he began to sweat. What I mean is that the heroes you selected for your internship had no value to you other than the fact that they were all stationed in Hosu, where the man who crippled your brother was still believed to be operating out off. Torino explained, as Ida took a sitting position on the floor. So what if I was after him? He crippled my brother. Is wanting vengeance so wrong? Ida snapped at Torino, earning him another boot to the head. Because vengeance doesn't make your loved ones come back to life or magically heal them. Heck, it doesn't even stop the heartache. It feels satisfying for about a minute before reality sets in. Torino yelled back at his student, stunning his student as realization dawns on Ida. All Might killed the villain, didn't he? Ida asked as he lowered his head. Yeah, it took years of training and hunting, but All Might finally caught the one and turned his skull into a pancake. But the damage was already done, Nana was dead, and killing that monster did nothing to bring her back. Torino explained, as he turned his back Ida as tears start leaking from his eyes. What now? I want to avenge my brother, but I see now that it won't heal him. What do I do? Ida asked himself as he conflict within himself, only remembering Torino's words of wisdom before their emotional dialogue with each other. You're too stiff. You need to be more flexible and be your own hero. As memories of Torino states in a ghostly voice. Present. The only reason Ida was here was because of a sequence of coincidental events that led him here, almost like it was destined to happen. So you're not here for revenge. Good, then you're not a fake. I have no need to purge you. Stand aside, and you may live. Stain states as he makes his way towards Native, only for Ida to move in front of him. I may not be out for revenge, but that doesn't mean I won't fight you to keep him safe. Besides, what kind of hero would I be if I let you kill someone on the job? Ida states as he takes a battle-ready stance. Fine then, you'll have the honor of dying as a true hero then. What is your name, hero? Ingenium. Junior Stain states as he mocks Ida's lineage. I am the swift hero, Quicksilver. Ida replies with gusto, as the two charge one another. The two of them wage a fairly intense fight. Ida's speed was far superior to Stain's, but Stain had superior skills and was slightly stronger physically. After about 6 minutes of fighting, Stain got a small hit of Ida with one of his serrated blades. It wasn't in any way life-threatening, and to Stain it was victory. He licked the small drop of blood of the blade, which caused Ida's body to paralyze below the neck. This was Stain's quirk, Blood Curdle. It allowed Stain to induce paralysis in any living thing simply by consuming a mere drop of their blood. So this is your quirk. You induce paralysis. That's why none of your victims showed signs of struggle. They couldn't. Ida deduced as he struggles to simply lift his head. Correct. Now die like the hero you say you are. Stain states as he prepares to stab Ida. Then suddenly, crash. A large pale-skinned and bee-winged thing fell from the sky and into a nearby dumpster, immediately drawing Stain's attention away from Ida. What the hell's going on here? A voice asks from the mouth of the alleyway. Both Ida and Stain look towards the alley's entrance to see both May and Melissa land. Back to Melissa and May's POV. Melissa had just sent out the SOS to the other heroes, as she and May were staring down the hero killer poised to impale their classmate and friend. Why is Ida here? Did he abandon his internship to go after Stain? Doesn't matter right now. What's important is capturing this monster. Melissa thought to herself as Stain began to speak. Why are you here? Stain asks, angrily, having once again been interrupted. I swear I've seen those two before, but I can't remember where. Stain thought to himself. We're here to take that Nomo, but now that we've found you. Hero killer Stain, you're under arrest for the murder of 17 pro heroes and the crippling of Ingenium. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will and can be used against you in a court of law. How do you plea? Melissa explains, reading the killer his rights. On response, Stain charges Melissa with sword upraised. Melissa counters by blocking with her arm, the sword doing no damage to her suit's armor. Be careful, shield. His quirks lets him paralyze people by ingesting their blood. Ida explains as he continues to try and rise. Oh, that's useful information. Melissa replies before pulling a cube from her waist, causing Stain to recognize her. The anti-quirk cube activates, encompassing the entire alleyway in a red glow. You're a member of the UA's Geniuses Trio, the ones who became heroes despite being quirkless. Your stated goal is to prove that technology can compete with quirks. But why become heroes? Why not just stick with your company? Stain exclaims, as May helps Ida stand, and they both start moving native. Mankind is 200 years behind schedule. We became heroes because it was our dream, and we plan to use that heroic fame to promote technology progression for the sake of humanity. Melissa states charismatically, stunning the hero killer. Yes, you are worthy heroes, working not only for the good of the people of Japan, but for all mankind. Yes, you are worthy heroes. Stain cries in psychotic joy. What the hell even makes a hero worthy in your eyes, Stain? Why kill heroes like this? Melissa asks, genuinely curious to the killer's reasoning. Because they're all fakes, selfish, convictionless fakes, who do nothing out of pure heroism or for the sake of others, just the forsake of money and fame. Stain articulates, with a sadistic smile. You arrogant, selfish moron. Melissa shouts in response. It doesn't matter what a person's motive for being a hero is, so long as they keep the people safe and happy they are heroes. Motive is meaningless so long as the ends are just, so long as people get to smile. It's true for the other side of the coin as well. No matter how grand and noble you think your cause is, it's still just murder, you fanatical idiot. You could have done anything else, Stain, but you chose murder. Melissa explains with a face encompassed by rage at the moronic reasoning behind the killer's intentions. Even so, I must purge the fakes to bring about an era of true heroism. And unfortunately for you, I cannot allow you to get in my way. I won't kill you, hero, but I will defeat you so that I can continue my mission to purge fakes. But first, what is your hero name? Stain continues, in a strangely courteous tone of voice. Mechalady. Melissa replies, as she activated her stain removal kit. At her response, Stain charges her. Both Stain and Melissa wage a confined battle with the alleyway. Despite being completely without his quirk, it was clear Stain didn't need it to keep up with pro heroes. However, Melissa's suit was more than a match for the hero killer in CQC. At one point, Stain sought to cleave into Melissa's shoulder, only for the blade to be caught and forcefully yanked from his hand and snapped by Melissa. All the while, May was in the background tending to Native and preparing the weapon that would capture Stain. May uses this stuff to heal Native. Remember, they brought equipment to deal with Stain, so of course they brought medical supplies. Eventually, after 4 minutes of fighting, Melissa took an open stance of confidence and spoke. Looks like we win, Stainy. Melissa states, to Stain's confusion. Suddenly, Melissa ducks down to reveal May wielding the stasis gun from the sports festival. May fired the weapon. Stain was so shocked he couldn't dodge, which resulted in him getting caught in the beam and completely immobilized. Nice shot, Armory. Melissa states, as she deactivated the cube. Thanks, Mechalady. May responded with a cheeky grin. Good job, Grunt, you too. Came a voice from behind them. Both Melissa and May turned to see Native hunched over and being propped up by Ida. Thanks, Native, right? Melissa replies, before turning to Ida with a glare. What were you thinking? Hunting Stain to get vengeance. You could have been killed, you. Melissa started yelling before Native interrupted her. He didn't come here for vengeance. At least I don't think. He had to grunt a whole speech about how vengeance doesn't help. Native explains. Wait, you didn't come after Stain then like we thought? Melissa asks, accidentally revealing her part in his internship. I'm assuming from the last part that you along with the others figures out my initial intentions. But no, I didn't go after Stain for vengeance. Torino taught me that it doesn't help. In fact, I'm only on Hosu because the train broke down and I heard a cry of pain coming from the alleyway. Ida explained. Oh, well, good for you, buddy. Now let's was as far as Melissa got into her words before they were all attacked. Shockum. By an explosion. The blast shockwave threw everyone off their feet. Melissa stumbled and conked her head on the bricks. Native's wound reopened. Ida fell to the pavement. And worst of all, May dropped her stasis gun, causing it to break and Stain to be freed. And from the smoke emerged Bakugo, wearing a sadistic grin. Who the hell are you? Stain inquires. Bakugo, why are you here? Ida asks in surprise at the blonde's sudden appearance. Bakugo flashback. Bakugo had abandoned his mentor, Kaiser, that night, having been informed by one of his teachers from Kariba who had police connections, that the heroes had made a task force to capture Stain. He decided it was now or never for the fame. He snuck out in the dead of night and began searching the city. Along the way, he came across several minor crimes in progress, not worth his time. Besides, common crooks and thugs were for loser heroes. Not him. He was destined for greatness. After several hours of aimless wandering, he heard something. It was the blonde Deku's voice, shouting about the hero killer. He swiftly rushed towards it, making sure to work up a sweat. No way was he letting a Deku outshine him again. Eventually, he saw from the other side of the street, Stain had already been captured in the trio's stasis gun. That wouldn't do. Then a sinister thought entered his head. If, say, he let the killer loose and let him kill the others, he could jump in and avenge them. Two birds, one stone, as they say. So he attacked. Present. I ask again. Who are you? You dress like a hero yet act like a villain? Stain asks, still confused at the blonde's presence. I'm Katsuki Bakugo, the hero, King Explosion Murder, future #1 hero, and your executioner, Stain. Bakugo states in a menacing tone of voice, angering the killer with each word. I see. You're a fake. Stain yells as he draws a shorter blade and charges the blonde. The two psychos rush one another, and it was obvious who had the advantage. Whilst Bakugo's blasts were at their most dangerous at close range, Stain held the advantage in speed and skill. Whilst the two nutcases were duking it out, May recovers just enough to get to Melissa and Native to check on them. Melissa had a concussion from hitting the brickwork without her helmet, and Native's wound had reopened. Melissa might have metal reinforcing her skull, but that doesn't make her immune to concussions. Even Wolverine still gets them, and his skull is indestructible. Ida, you see that cube? May asks the speedster, who had also recovered enough to stand. Yes, handsome. Ida replies, picking it up. Push the button and throw it. May orders as she tends to Native and Melissa. Ida does as he was told, and the anti-quirk cube to active and once again envelop the alleyway in an effort to stop the fight and prevent Bakugo from murdering Stain. The blonde wasn't happy. Turn that of you, worthless. HRK Bakugo began to yell, as he looked down to see where the pain was coming from. Stain had impaled him through the chest. The blonde fell to his knees in agony. Taking advantage of the opportunity he'd created, Stain jumped at Bakugo intent on stabbing his heart, only to suddenly find himself suspended in midair by an invisible force. What? What is this? Stain exclaimed as he tried in vain to move. Gravity manipulation, my dear hero killer, came a voice from the mouth of the alleyway. May and Ida turned to see Izuku with his hand outstretched, backed by a dozen more heroes. Minutes later, after Stain was grabbed by the heroes and forced into handcuffs and against a police car, the debriefing began. Ida explained why he was there and that he accepted the consequences. Native even backed him up. Bakugo was immediately rushed to the ICU, in cuffs, because he was outed by Native and May for attacking the group, even though they're already captured the hero killer. I knew Bakugo was crazy, but this beggars logic. Even if he killed Stain, he'd be thrown in jail? Shoto exclaims as he hears May's explanation of events. Yeah, he's definitely getting expelled for this, if not outright arrested. Izuku states as he watches the ambulance leave. Though I can't help but feel we're forgetting about something. May states, only to be nearly deafened by a screech coming from the alleyway. The winged Nomu, having regained consciousness, flew from the alleyway, grabbed Stain, and began to fly off. Shoot it down, a hero cried out. But as many heroes begin readying long-range attacks, an individual suddenly jumps from a rooftop, draws a thin telescopic spear, and thrusts it through the Nomu's skull, grabs Stain as they fall, and lands perfectly on the ground whilst hoisting the hero killer into their shoulder. Who the heck's that? A hero asks, confused at the individual's sudden appearance. Officer Himino of the new prototype armored police squadron based in Hosu. Don't worry, everyone, the police will take it from here. The now revealed Officer Himino states, causing every hero there to be stunned into shock. I'm assuming you had something to do with this? Shoto states as he looks at Izuku. In response, Izuku merely smiled. So, this was the end of Part 9 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.